Hello! So today I'm going to be talking about Flashlight by Susan Choi. It's booker season. Baby! Now, this is my first Susan Choi novel. I haven't read Trust Exercise, which is the other one people talk quite a lot about. I believe it won the National Book Award in 2019. 2018, 2019, something like that. And you think I would have read that book considering its content and what my profession is. However, never got round to it. But having read Flashlight, I am definitely going to read that book in the future. So let's not waste any time, let's crack into some tasty themes. We've got family, memory, and emotional absence. We've got identity and displacement, and again, displacement for me is the one that resonated the most, and this entire novel really is about that sense of displacement and belonging. We have historical trauma and geopolitics. And finally, we have sort of fragmentation, and fragmentation within the sort of structure that also relates to what the book is trying to say about memory. I don't want to go into too many details about that for spoilers, but there's a sort of I would say fragmentation of memory is a big theme within this one. And the way that the novel's structured sort of plays into that as well. It's pretty smart. So let's dive into the characters. First up, we have Louisa, and this novel pretty much covers most of her life. It's a pretty epic novel and traverses quite a lot of time, but we start with Louisa at age 10. She's walking along the beach with her dad, and then all of a sudden, the next day, she wakes up on the beach and her dad has disappeared. Louisa's objectives through this novel is to kind of understand what happened that night, and, she doesn't really understand the trauma that moment has caused her, and also, the trauma of her identity that one moment causes her, forcing her to sort of leave the country she's living in. All of the characters within this novel have this real sort of identity crisis, this idea of belonging, this idea of displacement, due to the sort of nature of how the family has grown up. And she's really sort of traumatized by her sense of identity and the events of that night. Next up, we have Serk, who is the most complex character at play within this novel. Serk is ethnic Korean, but raised in Japan, but never felt like he belonged in Japan, but also never felt like he belonged in Korea either. He moves over to America, but also doesn't feel like he belongs in America, moves his family back over to Japan, but then goes missing. And I can't really say much more, I don't think, for spoilers. I haven't decided how I'm going to handle the spoilers in this one. I'm not going to say anything. But either way, the most complex character out of them all, especially with that sense of identity and belonging. An absolute insane journey that Serk goes on, which is really thrilling in parts. Next up, we have Anne, who is American. She's Louisa's mum, and she was married to Serk, and she is again carrying this sort of trauma of the events that happened from being in America, being moved over to Japan, and then her husband just vanishing and having to sort of move back to America and sort of figure out her life, but also trying to exist in Japan and not really feeling like she belonged. Again, everyone in this novel has this issue with where they are and this inability to feel comfortable where they are. I think Anne's objective throughout this novel is just to kind of hold the family together. She has her own trauma from her past that sort of weighs heavy on her, along with everything that's happened with the disappearance of her husband, and also this sort of clashing she constantly has with her daughter. And finally, we have Tobias, who is Anne's illegitimate son, and he very much wants to bring the family together. He is a bit of he's a wanderer, he's a free spirit. He moves to Japan and just sort of bumps into Anne, and he tries to live at a kind of a temple, but he doesn't feel like he belongs there. He's a real free spirit. Sort of a person of the earth. He walks the earth, that kind of thing. And he always seems to just turn up at different times and expects to just sort of stay with the family, and they sort of accommodate him. Him and Louisa clash a lot, but they also sort of grow together in that way. I'm not going to say much more about sort of Tobias, because his objectives later on sort of skirt into spoiler territory, but he very much is a sort of driving force in kind of trying to uncover the mystery, and sort of brings information to Louisa and Anne throughout his travels. Can I say much more than that? No, I can't. The novel starts in 1978, and I think it spans around 40 to 45 years. And we get different character perspectives all the way through. And it's very fragmented in the sense that it jumps around in time. It jumps backwards and forwards, and sort of we are slowly piecing things together. And we kind of get a real sort of rich idea of this family and their sort of struggle with identity. The novel is also sort of baked in this flashlight metaphor of like illuminating the light and the shadow and the dark, and even the way the structure is put out is this sort of like whipping of a flashlight. That's the best way I can sort of describe it. I could be totally wrong. That's just my interpretation of what I think the title means and what it relates to. But this sort of sense of like there's always something hidden in darkness, and you've just got to keep searching. And the way this novel builds and the way it is structured is these flashes, these moments with these different characters, and the sort of the things that they are finding out as they go along. Before I get into my likes and dislikes, I am going to say that overall this novel was a mixed bag. I'm not going to lie to you, there were sections in it that I found just painfully dull, and I was really, really bored. However, there are sections of this novel that I found utterly thrilling, fascinating, and incredibly educational, and that is a big triple hit for me right there. So again, I can't get past the fact that there were sections that I was like, oh my god, I'm really bored of this, but then I would hit another bit and be like, I'm so in. So yeah, a real mixed bag, and that is one of my main cons that I'll get onto later, but there were a few sections that were just really dragged for me. But I think I would say right now, push through it. This novel has a lot to offer. What did I like? The thing that I absolutely loved about this novel is just its ambition. It is epic in scale, in sort of the time frame that it covers, what it's trying to do politically, but also narratively. It's combining sort of like these thrilling elements with a family drama, as well as this real look at politics and identity and sort of displacement. It is doing so much, and all of it is just woven into each other so beautifully. It is absolutely, just that aspect of it alone is why it deserves to be on this long list. Yeah, I thought just wonderfully, wonderfully done. The next thing I really loved was the prose. Was like really restrained, but just really focused and flowed beautifully. Yeah, it was just really well written. Next thing I loved is the characters. I thought the characters, as much as there were sections with the characters that I was a little bored by, and there were characters that I preferred more to others, as the novel built, they were layered, and I did find myself engaging with certain characters more at different points within their lives. So maybe it's just a dealer's choice thing in that moment on what you might engage with. But yeah, I really enjoyed the characters. To start with, I was a bit like, oh no, oh dear, this is going to be a slog. I don't think I like any of these characters. But as it built, I got cooking with it. I've been doing this a lot recently, but I think I've got the same note written down twice. But I kind of written down that I love the blending of the themes. So this is reads like a bit of a memoir of a family drama and a thriller. And I think it handles all those sort of genres really well. And finally, what it's doing thematically and sort of emotionally. I didn't think starting this book, and even to the halfway point, that this book would hit me emotionally in any way. I was a bit like, I'm just not feeling it with these characters. I'm interested by them. I'm really with them, you know. I didn't think anything emotionally was going to get me. And then there are sections in the second half, last quarter-ish, that I was just, I don't know, maybe it was right time, right place, my mindset, but just got me. They just got me. And I was so in it and so like consumed and heartbroken by what had happened. And it got me. It really got me. So, yeah. What didn't I like? Only two things. The first thing I've already covered. I would be lying to you if I didn't say that there are sections of this novel for me that dragged and maybe it needed a little bit of an edit. It's a lazy note to give. It's a really easy note to just be like, yeah, it was a bit too long. But there were moments that dragged for me. Your mileage may vary. And again, because of the different time frames and the different characters and their growth, I think it's pretty much there are different sections throughout this novel that people are going to really engage with and others they won't, and that's just part of the course of a novel that sort of spans and has the scope of what this is trying to do. And my second dislike, and not a massive one, but Tobias has this sort of subplot activism thing going on, which sort of helps towards uncovering the mystery of what happened to Serk and things like that. I I don't know. It felt a bit half baked. Didn't quite feel as fully realised as it could have. It felt a little bit like bam, there you go, to sort of help get us to where we needed to get to. And there was something the Tobias character in general, and sort of just more with him and how things were left with him and where he ended up. It's all a bit open ended, and I'm fine with that with some characters, but with Tobias, I felt myself just at the end going, I wanted to know a bit more about his journey. So yeah, those are my two complaints. And they're not really complaints, really. They're just kind of things that I think would have strengthened the novel. Anyway, also, I suppose I could add this in. I think the flashlight metaphor, depending on who you are, might feel a bit heavy-handed, might feel a little bit naff. I'm kind of like fine with it. I'm like, yeah, go for it. But to some, I think they might be a bit like, ugh, oh, I get it. But yeah, that's just me. Overall, I thought the flashlight was just really bold, really ambitious, and epic. And that second half, sections in that second half, I was utterly thrilled by and emotionally moved by. I do think that this isn't a novel for everyone. It's kind of sort of relentless introspection taking place that's happening, and it's moments that do sort of slow down and drag a little bit. Won't be for every reader, and I think there's a lot of people who might end up, giving this novel like 1 or 2 stars. But for me, the strengths of this novel do outweigh those weaker moments, and I'm ending up on like a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought this was an excellent novel, and again, another great read from the Booker Longlist. I don't know what it is about this year's Longlist, but I seem to be really cooking with it. I don't know if it's just that I've decided to pick like the standout books to start with, and that I'm going to get a very sort of like bland back end. I hope not, but everything so far has been 4 stars, and I have just started Sea Scraper, and I'm really enjoying that as well, like really enjoying it. I think that's also going to be a 4-star read. I can't believe it. This might end up being one of the toughest shortlist predictions I've ever had to do, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just in a really positive mindset, but they've all been really good for me so far. So, have you read Flashlight? And if so, what did you think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I do have to apologise because of spoilers. There are a lot of aspects about this novel that I could just talk to someone about for hours. Just what it's saying politically and looking at a certain point in time and what was happening and the ripple effect of that. It's just, yeah, I was so in it, and I would love to talk to someone about it, and I will eventually, but it's just at the moment, yeah, it's just everything I want to talk about completely sort of falls into spoilers and ruins things, so I'm not going to do a spoiler review because I just don't have the time, but yeah, anyway, I'm really interested to hear people's thoughts on this one. Yeah. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. I hope you're well and you're enjoying whatever you might be reading. And if you are doing the Booker Longlist, I hope you're having as good a time as I am so far. Please do let me know below what you've read so far and what your standouts are. Yeah. Until next one, bye.